Tom, I thought we'd start with a little PDA, some post-debate analysis from you. First of all, the best moment, I thought, I'm kind of only half joking when I say this, I thought the best moment last night for François Legault was when Patrice Roy said bonsoir, and he smiled and said bonsoir. And after that, I kind of felt it went a little downhill for him. But he was asked in the scrum, in English, after the debate, about that comment. I guess it was Paul St. Pierre Plamondon who says it to him, that he's just basically, he's the party trying to extinguish separation, to which he said this.
Like I said, sovereignty will always be a big idea. The problem is that right now, it's not a priority for the majority of Quebecers. That's it. That's all.
That's it. That's all, Tom. So,
yes.
Is it?
Sounds like something straight off Johnny Jellybean. Yeah, the problem, of course, is Legault wouldn't even answer last night a very clear question. If there were a referendum tomorrow, would you vote for Quebec sovereignty, yes or no? And he started to skate around the question. Well, there's no referendum on right now. And everybody jumped on him and said, no, the question's clear, though. Would you vote in favor of Quebec sovereignty, yes or no? And this goes all the way back to something you and I have talked about a few times, the famous interview that he gave in Actualité magazine in 2018 before the last election, in which he said, look, we've tried twice to attain sovereignty, in one grand evening. So we're going to go. We're going to try to get there slightly differently. We're going to go after language. We're going to go after culture. We're going to go after immigration. And he even specifically mentions that he wants to go after family reunification category of immigration, which he's always said is the thing that is hurting Quebec French so much. You let families get back together. You never know what'll happen. Even though all their kids by law have to go to French school. So this is the François Legault who's always trying to have it both ways. And it's a bit like Éric Duhem. He tries to say, well, I'm right there for you. I'm with you every step of the way. Really? So what is it you were talking about when you said you weren't going to lock the door to eventual separation of Quebec from Canada? That's still all about leaving the possibility there of breaking up the country. So I take note of that. I take note of what Duhem said, and I know, obviously, we don't need to be told that the Parti Québécois is foursquare for separation. Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois has been a little bit trickier. He put up a big number, wants hundreds of millions of dollars to prepare for a referendum in his first mandate if he were to win. And I get bugged a bit by some of the Solidaire types who are saying, you're a bit rough on him. You don't agree with him on everything. And I'm sort of going, well, first of all, I'm here to analyze and observe and comment. I'm not here to be on anybody's side. I said the other thing is, too, how is it that he says there's no money for all these important things like housing and daycare, and all of a sudden he's got $500 million in his back pocket to break up one of the most successful countries in the world? To put it another way, Aaron, anytime somebody can give me an answer to this question, how can sovereignty help the average working family that they all claim to be worried about? Then I'll be willing to listen. But so far, in my decades in government here in Quebec and working, I've never heard anybody give me a plausible answer to that question.
Well, Tom, isn't he going to raise all that money for the separation question by taxing Toyota Corollas and minivans? Isn't that where it's coming from?
Oh, yes, and this gets me even more trouble when I say, well, François Legault's term for that is, of course, the orange tax. And being told that you were going to tax Hummers, I think everybody could agree that that sort of bonus-malus system would be a way of encouraging people to buy more ecologically economic cars. But saying that a little Toyota Corolla, a family car is going to cost you $4,500 more, that did get a lot of people's attention.
All right, so let me ask, with respect to last night, if we're going to look at François Legault, it became fairly obvious early on, Tom. He went after Gabriel Nadeau a couple of times. Then it moved on to Éric Duhem. So we take that to mean, obviously, that François Legault believes that the biggest threat right now comes from Quebec Solidaire and Éric Duhem. Fair enough?
No, not fair enough. He knows that his biggest threat, because he knows that the most likely leader of the official opposition after the election is Dominic Anglade of the Liberals. But he won't go after her. He's going to go after them. He's been trying to set up this dialectic, this dynamic between himself and Nadeau-Dubois for at least 8 or 10 months, going after him, hammer and tong in the House, saying it's terrible, but he's the real opposition leader, and ignoring Anglade. It's a technique. It's a political technique. What he's trying to do is say, I'm so afraid of this guy, Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois, I'm going to spend a lot of time attacking him. He is sincerely afraid of Éric Duhem in Quebec City. Unlike Nadeau-Dubois, there's not a single vote for François Legault to get from the voters for Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois' Quebec Solidaire. Not one vote for him to get there. So it's all a pillow fight. It's a food fight. It's fake. He's doing it to draw attention, that he wants to do that. He wants to draw attention to Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois and to Quebec Solidaire and say, oh, these are a real viable force. Jeez. I, François Legault, the dire right-winger, don't want you voting for him. So, of course, young people go, well, then we better vote for him. And so we've got the same game going. With regard to Éric Duhaime, he had a very good round against Legault last night on what they keep calling the third link. So an extra bridge or tunnel, as Legault is proposing in Quebec City. This, I can guarantee you that after that performance last night, Duhaime is going to win that seat. It's called Chauveau, the seat that he's after in Quebec City, and probably both Beauces. So if he comes in with 3, maybe 4 seats out of this thing, it's going to be an amazing political result. There will be, and we mentioned it yesterday, there's going to be something interesting on Tout le monde en parle on Sunday. There'll be other guests, and it'll be a normal show. But he's going to have, at the same time, on the stage, all 5 leaders, if Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon is feeling well enough, of course. If not, it'll be the 4 of them. And it's going to be a free-for-all. And that's the type of thing where there could be an easy mistake that could mark a good part of the campaign. So that one's worth watching as well.
But did I miss something last night when Duhaime and Legault went at it over the tunnel? And Duhaime at one point asked Legault about that study, and Legault couldn't tell him or wouldn't tell him who had done that study?
No, he won't say anything about it. But what's happened is if you write a list of the different versions that Legault has given about the existence or the non-existence of studies as to whether or not this third link is necessary, what the best way to do it is, whether it's ecologically and economically feasible. The $6.5 billion, with a B, that Legault has put up as his rounded guess about the cost of the tunnel, it comes out of thin air. There's not even a napkin on which it's written. It's just literally out of thin air. And so there are no studies. Nothing's been done. Nobody's looked at the ecological side, the social side, the economic side. And he's in a lot of trouble. He's got a guy named Eric Kerr, whose riding is like the Cap Rouge area. He's an obscure minister of basically nothing, but he became a minister because he was the attack dog for Legault the whole time he was in opposition. And he's very worried about his seat because he swore up and down that he would not even run in this election unless they were well underway to building this famous third link. So watch Quebec City on election night. It's going to be one of the most fascinating places in the province to watch.
Okay, what did you make, by the way, of François Legault taking a shot at Duhaime, calling him like Donald Trump-like? Isn't that kind of rich?
It's kind of rich, but it goes nowhere. I mean, Donald Trump, like, what is that even supposed to mean?
Well, he's been called that, though, hasn't he? I mean,
Yeah, and it doesn't bother him. It's, it's just water off a duck's back.
Okay.
And the other thing is, too, for example, look, on Sunday, I can fairly confidently predict the same way, look, Anne-Marie Dussault, top-notch journalist, couldn't resist jumping into the ring and pretending she was actually the adversary of Éric Duhaime when they had them on one-on-one interviews on Radio Can. Even the extraordinary Pierre Bruno had to give him a little pop in the nose over his taxes. All of a sudden he was a player in the debate. He was supposed to be moderating. So this is irresistible for people in Montreal to go after Éric Duhaime. He's seen as a margin politically. He's a right winger and he is Trump-like in certain respects. But he's got his fan base. He's got a rock solid 25% in the Quebec City area. And remember, that's a metropolitan area that's pushing 1 million people these days. So it's a lot of people who are willing to vote for this guy. On Sunday's Tout le monde en parle, it is pretty easy to predict that they are going to go after him very personally. And when they do, he turns around, he heads back to Quebec City, and that whole area around Quebec City, all the way down to the U.S. border through the Beauce, and he says, you know what? This is the Plateau Mont-Royal clique. These are the people who hate you and who look down at you, and I'm going to be here to make sure that we do things right for our region. That's the game that's going to get played, and watch it. If you get a chance to see Tout le monde en parle, I'll bet you a big pot of coffee together that they go after Duhaime more than they go after anybody else.
So more Duhaime than Legault, you believe?
Yeah, because
okay.
Duhaime is a margin, and Legault is the premier, and is probably the guy who's still going to get a majority after this thing. Although I'm very anxious to see what the polling numbers are going to look like, let's say, between now and next Wednesday, Tuesday, as we head into the home stretch, because I can't see how Legault's numbers are not starting to soften given the pummeling he's taken in both debates.
But to be fair, Tom, even if they soften, if he were to lose 3 or 4 percentage points, what difference would it make?
Not a heck of a lot, because none of those opposition parties have been able to raise an antenna and say, hey, come on over here, I'm the viable one.
Yeah.
You know, when I talk to people at QS, they say, of course we have no intention of forming a government. That's what, you don't worry about the fact that we have people with no government experience. We're not going to form the government. We think we'd be a good opposition. Wow. If that's your ambition in life, then go for it. But actually, this is supposed to be about who can actually run this province. And I think that Legault has done very well in some respects, and he's done just awfully in others, dividing the place. Dominique Anglad's right. And by the way, she was with PSPP, Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, she was easily, and all the punditry and all the commentary, even people who have had nothing good to say about the Liberals, everybody agrees that Anglade was the winner with Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon in last night's debate.
Yeah, and on the Aaron Rand Twitter poll where she came in number 1. Thank you, Tom.
Well, that's conclusive proof,
I think
if
it
anything.
is, yeah.